The last big announcement that we had, which was in February at the US Game Developers Conference, is about a really important new feature for us, which is user-generated content. Now, people have seen user-generated content in Little Big Planet, and they've seen it in Mod Nation Racers. And this is kind of our take on it. It has a different flavor. You're authoring missions directly within the Infamous universe. And I'll let you watch this trailer, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. There'll be a quiz later about what day the game launches, in case you missed it. UGC, for us, this is kind of our own take on user-generated content. This Infamous at its core, the core engineering and art efforts, are building a city that has all these gameplay systems that run underneath it, that has artificial intelligence and pathing for each of the different enemy types, has a parkour and climbing system that can work on arbitrary spaces. And so the idea that we had when we started working on the UGC was, how do we make it a system so that end users can create totally reasonable, playable missions for our game? And the idea had been, well, we already have this big city, and what if as I was running around, and my friend John, or some guy I don't even know John, had made a mission, and I just saw this green mission star pop in, and it was just sort of in the game world, and I could run up to it, and it would say, hey, it's John's mission, it's called Story, and you go in and you could play it. Like, that seemed like a really compelling thing because of the immersion of it directly into the game world. And so we started kind of trying to conceptualize this and think about what customers would need to make good missions. And we actually have a lot of experience at this because we have a whole bunch of tools that we use to make the missions. And so really this was about trying to find the right subset of that to expose to users. Well, along the way we found out, as we did some internal testing and eventually into beta testing, that the users don't just want to make what we would call Infamous missions. They want to make all kinds of crazy things. And so one of the demos that we have here today, somebody made Space Invaders out of our system, which is kind of crazy, but I'm really glad that they could make it. And I think that a lot of the missions have great humor, and they are things we could not do in the game world itself because it would break the fiction that we're creating about Infamous. So it's this really awesome release for creativity for users, and it's just a fun way of extending this game kind of to infinity. I mean, if you love Infamous and you want to keep playing, there's going to be, I think, an effectively infinite supply of reasonably high, if not extraordinarily high quality missions. Now, we've been running a beta for, going on a month now, and we've been really encouraged by how effective our end users have been at this. And I think as soon as we wrap up the beta, what we're going to do is sort through all the missions that people have made and uploaded, and we're gonna pick like the top 100, and we're just going to populate the server and mark them as our featured missions. And when each of you gets your disc of Infamous 2 and you play through, there's a point about 15% of the way through the game where this unlocks. And you're going to see those missions. They're not missions that we made. They're missions that we have sort of blessed and sort of at least approved to make sure that they're not, dreadful missions. But you're going to get, right off the bat, 100 good missions that you can go play. And then there's a set of filters, and you can go say, hey, I really like missions that are sort of sneaky, stealthy, or hey, I want ones that are funny. I want crazy missions that are Space Invaders or Angry Birds made out of, using Cole's powers. Great. We'll have filters for that, and your world will just populate with these missions. You'll go up, you'll see the rankings. You can decide if you want to play them. You can give them a rating when you're done. They'll all sort. You can say, I only want to play new missions. All this stuff is possible, and the user interface for this is a little filtering and just running around the world looking for those green mission stars. So it's for us, it's a super exciting time. We're getting to see the creativity and the passion of our customers, and we get to play missions that we didn't make, which is a rare treat for us, because trust me, all these missions I've played, 1,000 times. So it's actually one of the most exciting things for us is seeing our systems used by customers. It's been a really rewarding project for us in that regard. Is there any other trailers or anything we're going to show?
That's it.
That's, I think, all we've got. Now, we're going to do, I'm going to do some demos of user-generated content authoring upstairs, so that, we're set up to do that, especially if you're curious about that. I can kind of walk people through that stuff. We're also going to have the Plant Giant mission and at least one other. I'm not sure if it's Force Conduits. So the two that we loaded up there right at the end of the thing, at the end of the open session, those will still be running. You get a chance to go see the big enemies. I know that in there we have a medium-sized enemy in Force Conduits, the Ice Golem. Actually, I'm sure there's a real name for that, but we call him the Ice Golem. So that, and then the Behemoth on the other console. So I thank you for your attention. I'm super glad to be here and happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks again for coming.